Hello and everyone, welcome to the Shine Podcast episode 2. Today we have a few new guests. Well, one for this segment. Everyone, say hello to Sophia Woodhams, longtime friend of mine, a student at New Technology High School, and today's student guest.
Yay! Hello.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what we're doing for this episode is we're talking about body image and sort of body dysmorphia and sort of our personal, well, I don't know how personal you guys want to get, but like
I'll get personal.
Okay. Yeah, some of our personal experiences, either experiencing it firsthand or seeing the people around us kind of affected by it, and like, yeah, and that's what we're here to talk about.
I feel like body image is a thing that has been affecting teenagers for a while, I think. And I don't know, I guess I kind of want to see what you guys think about how that's kind of progressing, if it's changed at all. But I think we should start with, do you guys do self-care? In what way? In a way?
Yeah. Like,
Ava or Sophia?
just like in the sort of like general mental health aspect, not like specifically body image wise.
I like to go to bed early. I think that helps with like my mental health and being like alive throughout the day, you know? I also like to like go to the gym or exercise in whatever way. I think it helps me feel more like grounded, if that makes any sense.
Gives you something to like keep not just your mind but your like whole body active, sort of a thing.
Like it makes me feel good like physically and mentally.
You're the first teenager I heard to say that they like to sleep early. I'm not gonna lie. That's the first thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, like that's one thing I've always been impressed by. Like, how can you like manage to stick to such like regular?
When's your bedtime, Sophia?
Well, I've been like not going to bed very early recently.
Practicing
My
self-care.
sleep insomnia has been bad.
Ooh.
But I like to be in bed by at least 10. Like
That's admirable. I kind of
I
say.
haven't
that's
gone,
like the latest.
I haven't gone to bed before 10 in like so long. Well, I mean,
I was
except for
expecting her to
last
say
week.
like 8 or some crazy number like that.
That's like the latest I feel like though.
Well, like
10's
for me,
late.
even 10 is a struggle sometimes because like it feels like there's not enough hours in the day to like get everything done you need to do for school, for just everything.
Yeah, like I'm not usually home till like 6, 7, so.
Yeah, it's
That's
tricky.
crazy. Do you do self-care, Eva?
I'd like to say that I do, but I feel like my self-care, like my coping mechanisms are more like escapism, I guess, but like not in a necessarily bad way, but I'm like in my bed a lot, like on my phone.
Truth. That's
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not the healthiest thing, but like I'm definitely working on it. I think journaling is pretty useful. Going to bed early sometimes, like I'll aim for like 11 maybe on like a good day, but yeah.
11 on a good day. That's so real. That's truth.
What about you, Brianna? What do you do for your personal self-care?
Honestly, a lot of my self-care I think just comes from being by myself. Because I just I feel like when I'm with people I focus too much on other people and I don't really like focus on myself. So when I'm home, I feel like I kind of get you on the like going to bed early type thing, because it's like people are like, oh, you're going to sleep already, so they kind of like not bother you anymore. So you kind of have that time to yourself. So I kind of like just being by myself. So I guess the way that I practice self-care, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really do skincare, so I'm not gonna say that. But I like doing my makeup or doing my hair or like making outfits is really fun to me, because it's like everything that I do is like for me. Like I'm focusing it on myself, like my outfits, that I'm making them for me, and see what, like I just feel good dressing up and looking cute.
Yeah, now that you say that, I feel like when I look good, I feel good. So like even when I'm not going out, like I'll do my makeup, you know, I'll do my hair, stuff like that. So,
Scrolling on Pinterest.
yes.
That's my hobby.
Yes. I
Part-time
scroll like
job.
a old man reading a newspaper.
Oh yeah. I start literally, but it's me in a Pinterest board.
Yeah.
Literally, it's me adding pins to my board of pictures. But I get how you feel. But it's that, and then I feel like a lot of my self-care also is like reflected in my room, because I I like decorating my room a lot, whether it's like right now I'm decorating it for Christmas. Like I put a Christmas hat on my TV, I got my tree up, like it's all like I just like because my room is a place where I spend a lot of my time. So I like making it like mine, I guess, and I like decorating it. And it's like another thing that I'm also doing for me because it's my room and I'm like decorating it to how I like. So I like being able to walk in my room and like having it be so like familiar and like so comfortable to me and being like, oh, it's my room, you know?
Yeah.
What about you, Damien? Do you as a man practice self-care?
Ooh. First of all, bold of you to assume my gender has anything to do with it. You know, wow, look at you.
You know what? Answer the question.
Fulfilling subscribing to stereotypes
Answer the
about
question.
self-care. Wow, I'm kidding. But you are right to an extent.
Yeah.
Self-care is something I think I haven't been practicing as much as I maybe should lately. Like, I mean, thanks to Woodhams, actually, I did develop a bit of a skincare routine. It may not be as
You're
obvious
glowing,
right now.
Damien.
It may not be as obvious right now. I've kind of fallen off the wagon, so to speak. But honestly, one of the things that I kind of do to, well, lately it hasn't been much of an unwind, but some of the things I like to do to unwind otherwise is sort of working on little like video projects on my own, because that's kind of a thing I'm passionate about and a thing that I like to do in my free time, and it's a hobby that I've poured time and devotion to, and it just kind of it makes me feel at home because it's what I know, it's what I'm familiar with, and I can just appreciate the work that I do, even if sometimes it's just for myself, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess that's one way I have in the past practiced sort of mental self-care. Yeah.
Okay.
And like just as a little quick extra thing, like cooking. I like cooking. I feel for me it's more self-care because you can share it with others, you know, like my biggest way of self-care, well, maybe not my biggest, but one of my biggest ways of self-care is making others feel better. You know, whether that be like, oh, here's a little pastry I made, or here's a muffin, or maybe a bowl of pasta that I cooked up, you know. Seeing others feel good because of something I did makes me feel better.
That's cute. That is really cute. Okay. I think I kind of really want to talk about social media.
Yeah.
I feel like that has like a pretty big, or I feel like it has a pretty big impact on people.
Yeah.
Especially like, I really want to say TikTok, but
100%.
I love TikTok. And so, do you guys think, what do you guys think about social media? How do you?
Sorry.
No.
Okay. I deleted TikTok.
No,
Like,
you have to follow the
couple
Shine
years
podcast.
ago. I have Instagram. Anyway, I think seeing people in like these heavily edited videos or photos, like you don't know that they're heavily edited, and like
No.
you don't look like them, and you think you should look like them. I think that's hard for like developing minds.
And especially with apps like TikTok, it's like trends on that app recycle so fast.
Yeah.
So there's a different
That's so true.
there's a different beauty standard like every month, it seems like, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't know, with like filters and stuff, it's like you have to look one specific way. It's just not very diverse on there. But yeah.
You're so real with the recycling trends, because
Yeah.
I've seen so many like what was that thing called, the cancel tilt or whatever
Yes,
it was?
okay.
Oh my.
Looks maxing. It's just
What even
Viewing?
is that?
Like,
I
what are we
still don't
talking about?
understand it.
It's like the way your eyes are angled or whatever.
Yeah,
it's just stupid
they
filter.
analyze like attractiveness and like beauty like to like a scientific level, and it's like if you don't fit that, then like you're unattractive or whatever, and it's just
Sorry, side tangent. Can beauty be viewed in a scientific way?
I guess it can, but I mean like it's obviously going to be subjective.
There always has to be like a thing you're aiming towards, you know? Like even in the scientific way or whatever.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of it has to do with like what is appealing to look at. Like in general, like if you look at a flower, it's like the symmetry of it, and so I feel like that has a lot to do. I kind of feel like people are applying that to like people and faces.
People are so much more complex.
But that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's like
Yeah.
completely different, because how do you expect complete symmetry, and then you see the stupid filter on TikTok where it's like analyzing your symmetry and being like your left side is 47%.
like,
It's like, what are we talking
the beauty
about?
about people is that we're not perfect. You know, we're all
Yeah,
unique,
yeah.
we're all
Oh,
different.
man,
Wow, Ava.
that's a good way of putting it. Wow,
Thanks,
that's
Good.
I felt that. That was poetic. Almost.
But yeah, I feel like I wish I was as brave as Sophia. I wish I could go on TikTok.
Yeah, me
But it's
too.
like, I feel like it's just so dumb, because I see so many TikToks where it's like, they're pretty girls. I'm not gonna say they're ugly. They're like really pretty girls, but it's also like I'm looking through the comments, and it's all these comments that are like, I wish he doesn't see this, or I hope he doesn't see this, or it's like, I guess I'm not eating dinner tonight. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, why would you say that? Like, it's just like, I feel like it's just this, like what's the word? It's like they expect this thing from these girls. I don't even know, but it's like it's such a toxic like environment.
like it's normal to
think-
hate yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
And I
It's like-
mean, even with part of it being like obviously hyperbole, some of it is not as hyperbolic as you might think. Like it's. Ugh.
I don't know. It's just really weird. So I feel like, yes, I feel like girls should like post themselves on TikTok if they're feeling pretty, but I also feel like that can. I know they probably don't have that intention of like, oh, I'm gonna post this and make other girls feel bad, but I feel like it's just this weird thing that social media has developed into, where
Or,
it's like,
body checking.
oh my god, I hate body
Yeah.
checking. It's so bad, where it's like so obvious too. Oh my god,
Like
this
in
is
that
me.
case,
It's
it's
me
like very,
complaining.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like social media has just developed so fast into this thing where like you see, like you said, there's a new beauty standard every month, which is so true. So like you'll see the girl on TikTok and you're like, oh my god, I wish I looked like that, and then you kind of work towards looking like that or whatever. And I just feel like it's so dumb, because the next month there's gonna be another girl on TikTok who's like the it girl, and then the next month is gonna be, and then she gets canceled, so now there's other girls, and it's like it's this whole thing. So I feel like it's just kind of hard to keep comparing yourself to that, but I feel like TikTok is like the hotspot for that.
Mhm. Yeah.
I feel like part of the reason why I deleted it was like thinking back to COVID and how what you said with like the standards and like the body checking and everything, how that affected me when I was like 13, you know? Like it was crazy. It would like everyone was working out like crazy.
Yes,
'Cause they
like
had
the Chloe Ting challenge.
Yes,
Oh my God.
that messed me up for
My 13-year-old self
years.
during quarantine.
Do not even start. I have this rage for Chloe.
Me too.
like I know she's just posting these out of like, oh, that's her job. But
No,
then, like,
yeah, I love her because it's like she has no
just bad
posting
intention.
workouts.
No,
but it's
She
like
wants
right.
the views, but the thumbnails, it's like get abs in 2 weeks. It's not gonna happen.
No.
Get like wider hips.
Yeah.
No.
Everyone's body is different. Yeah. And like I remember seeing all of these famous influencers during that time on TikTok with like what I would say like amazing bodies, you know, or for the time, and I would just feel so bad. But I was 13.
Like we can't expect ourselves to look like
No.
that.
you're 13 looking. I was like 13 looking at like 23-year-olds, and I'm like, man, why don't I look like that? It was like this
Yeah.
whole thing, which is like, oh my gosh. I honestly feel so bad for Chloe Ting, just because I feel like everybody during quarantine like looked at her for like that body that everybody was aiming towards
Right.
during COVID. So it's like now I have this like rage for her just because I was like, I idolized her when I was 13, but it was bad. The Chloe Ting workouts really threw me back.
Yeah.
And actually, your guys' sort of back and forth just now kind of brought up another question that I had, which was like how this isn't on the script, by the way. Sorry to disappoint. How would you say like the societal definition of sort of gender roles and stereotypes plays a part into societal body image standards? Like, because I know that's sort of something you guys just touched on. Because for me, I have no idea who half the people you were talking about were, to be honest, because that's not the experience I had
Right.
with relation to body image, and so I'm curious, like in what ways does society's gender roles play into how body image standards are sort of created?
Yeah,
I think
feel
that.
like-
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. I feel like Chloe Ting was I'm not gonna say it was like just a girls thing, but I remember a lot of girls were talking about Chloe Ting, who's like literally this YouTuber who posts workouts. That's who she is, baby. She's
that's
a
her job.
YouTuber. That's literally her
Okay.
job. But it's like every girl that I knew was talking about her and they were doing her workouts. I did her workouts. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, people just like were like, oh my god, the Chloe Ting workouts work, or it's like Chloe Ting has really good workouts, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like this whole thing. But I don't know. I'm sure I'm positive guys also have issues with their body image, but it's also like I wouldn't know because I don't know if guys have their own Chloe Ting, who is like
I
someone.
think their Chloe Ting would be like the looks maxing trend that's like going on right now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that also ties in with like toxic masculinity. They're trying to attain this like unattainable level of like masculine features, you know?
Yeah.
But
The like 7%, 2% body fat, whatever.
9-pack.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I feel like gym bros. Like
I was gonna say there's a lot of gym bros on
Yeah.
TikTok, so I feel like that also kind of that's probably the guys Chloe Ting. It's probably like
yeah.
gym bro TikToks.
I see these like videos on Reels, guys, on Reels, but it's like I feel like it seems like oh my god, sorry. Like they work out a lot and their diet like they're focused on their diet and counting calories and reaching these goals and
Yes,
it's like it seems like a lot of just like food tracking which isn't like great for anybody.
no.
Like, what's the difference between that at that point? Where does the sort of, I guess, self-discipline and, you know, trying to be the best physique you can, where does that stop and where does an eating disorder begin?
Yeah.
Oh, truth.
Like,
I feel like a lot of it, if you are working out and if you do want to have that better physique for yourself, I feel like it's all mental.
Yeah.
And it's like your consistency in what you're doing and like a good diet, not an unhealthy diet, but a good healthy diet. But I feel like a lot of like if I see like a gym bro TikTok, but if it's like really good in the sense of like it's inspirational and they're like trying to motivate you but like mentally and it's like inspirational, then I kind of get it because it's like, you know, they're trying to like inspire you to go to the gym or whatever. But it's like I feel like once they start focusing so much on food, then it's like, oh, the reason why or the whole like way you can have a good physique is food and your diet. Then that's kind of like, well, no, not really, because I feel like it's mental, you know.
yeah.
So
And if I may, I feel like a contributing factor to that is just our society's tendency to sort of correlate someone's, I guess, physique with, or make people internally correlate their physique with their self-worth, which I feel like is sort of just like the root of a lot of body image problems we have in society.
I think even before I had social media, I know just like maybe my family, I don't know, but they would always be like, oh, like don't eat too much, or not to me, but just in general, like making comments about their body, like the women. It's like, oh, have these problem spots, which I think like started it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I was a gymnast, a competitive gymnast when I was younger. And I remember like looking at all of these other girls from other gyms at the meets and being like, oh, like I wish I looked like them, like or like I don't know, like I was so young.
that's so
too. I
funny
don't
too, because
think-
it's like, where does that come from
Right, I was-
specifically? Because like I
yeah.
can't think of like a specific thing that I saw or that I heard or that I watched where it's like, oh, that's where my body image issue started. Like, no, I just feel like it just
comes along, or maybe in like Disney Channel, because they always are so focused on like
oh, like nutrition and
yeah,
like,
or
your
even
food groups.
in the shows they would have like, oh, you're getting a little chubby, like don't eat too much, eat a salad today,
Yeah.
or something like that.
It's like the small subconscious
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
yeah
That's freaky. I never realized that.
Yeah. Food for thought.
Literally.
lolcat.
Sorry, unintentional pun here, guys.
What?
Because you said food for thought,
Oh yeah,
and we're talking about food.
no, yeah, I forgot you said that.
Okay, so we're going to continue with our other set of student guests. Would you guys mind introducing yourself?
you want to start?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Yesha, and I'm a junior.
My name's Maya, and I'm a sophomore.
At which schools?
American Canyon.
I also go to American Canyon.
That's such a good
Okay,
school.
side eye.
Okay, well, you know what?
Side
Damien has like some beef with AC apparently. So.
Yeah, he was like, ew.
Ew.
No, when we first
Excuse me. I thought that was expressly off camera comment.
Okay, cut that out.
Whatever.
I'm kidding.
Okay, so how are you guys?
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty good.
We're good. How are you?
We're good.
We're going.
Damien's
slowly
good.
but surely.
Is what he's trying to say.
Feeling the finals.
Oh, yeah.
The pressure.
Oh my god, don't start. Anyways, yeah, we'll continue with our little body image conversation. But I also did want to hear from Damien about his experience because these two are also Chloe Ting victims.
Yes.
So we're probably just gonna say the same thing. So let's
As
get
a-
Damien's side.
As someone whose first experience Chloe Ting was today,
5 seconds ago.
Literally before recording this.
and after finally reviewing her YouTube channel, what? That's all I have to say about that. But yeah, it's kind of what Sophia mentioned before. A lot of my personal experience with sort of exposure to body image standards was in the form of like gym bro content. And honestly, I never really wanted to subscribe to that mentality. But to say that, you know, it's just mere existence didn't affect me at all is also like not accurate, because you see the other people around you, the other like people your age that do subscribe to that sort of philosophy of like, oh, gotta get the gains, gotta lift the weights, gotta have the protein, and like it kind of gives you a bit of like, you know, inner conflict, like is this something I should be like following and like devoting more time to, and like should I care a lot more about my physique? Because honestly, like, everyone cares about their physique to some extent, I think. And for me, yeah, it's certainly been something that has given me pause a few times in my life, for sure. And yeah, being someone who's not like particularly muscular nor particularly thin, it's, you know, it's kind of just like a weird middle where you're like on neither side, so you kind of feel out of place no matter what. And yeah, that's what I think.
Thanks for sharing that, Damien.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure there's many other boys who think the same thing.
Yes.
So I wouldn't know. But yeah.
I think I can definitely come from what your point was, where you're not on either side of the scale, where you're not super skinny, you're not super whatever, like you're kind of in the middle. Coming from an athlete's point of view, I don't know if any of you are athletes, but personally
No,
I've been an athlete for most of my life, and especially coming from quarantine, it was a lot of pressure trying to keep up that ideal being, like that ideal body type, or
Yeah.
having that ideal, like always staying on top of being fit, but like always you have to, like, it took me a really long time, and only recently am I really digging into why I work out, like why I want to improve myself is just for myself. It took me so long, like with Chloe Ting, and having like having it like deeply rooted in me that I want to improve only for myself, not for anybody else, and not trying to compare myself to other people. And even like just being an athlete, like comparing yourself, even the standards of wanting to be better in your sport, not just your body.
Yeah.
It's a lot of factors for different people, and it's just, it takes a lot of self-reflection for somebody to finally be satisfied in themselves. And you're not always going to be satisfied, of course,
No.
but it's just, it's not something that even teens or even adults have really mastered. And I think it takes a lot of more conversation like this where people are going to get more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I like how you brought that up, because I noticed that there was a certain theme that a lot of people brought up quarantine, because that was
Yeah.
also where a lot of my issues with not just my body but with self-love started. And a lot of it did originate from body issues because I never really looked at my body that way. I was just kind of like, I didn't care. But since quarantine kind of allowed us to be more on social media a lot more, I think
Yeah.
it kind of like you were more focused on kind of just scrolling mindlessly, and you kind of just
Ooh.
yeah you kind of just even today you kind of just look at other people. In middle school is where it rooted for me, and I had a crush at the time, and I think that was also a big part of it because I would like look through his following, and it would be a bunch of like ABGs, and yeah, I was like, oh, I don't look like that, because I was just like, I thought to be liked and to be like admired that way is like I would have to look that way too. And so that's kind of like where a lot of it rooted, and that's why I'm such an advocate for it now. I think it's just so important that you just focus on normalizing your own flaws. You don't know how that person looks like when they wake up in the morning. And I think that's really important to know that you shouldn't compare yourself to what other people's best looks like on social media, because that's the only thing they
Yeah.
post, what they look like when they're best. Like me too, I don't post when I wake up in the morning 'cause I look musty, but like, you know, like I think that's what I needed to realize is I'm not always going to look my best. They're not always going to look their best, but they're not going to post that, right? So you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a good point. But I also feel like you're right, and I agreed with everything you said. And it was just, I think it was kind of, I feel like just because like on Instagram and on TikTok and whatever, and just like on social media, there are so many people, like that's literally what it's for. It's to post
Yeah.
when you look best, especially Instagram. And like, there's all those thirst out traps on TikTok, but that's not why it's only, there's other stuff on TikTok too, but I feel like most of it is that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're right. I feel like literally every like hot guy or girl that you see on there is on TikTok because they're all posting when they look their best. So it kind of just creates this like and sometimes people post when they look their worst and they still look really good, and that's why they get all the likes and that's why they're popping up on your For You page. But it's like I feel like that just all of a sudden like puts this this like standard already, and it's like everyone, like all the guys are thinking they're trying to bag like ABGs, but it's also like what like it's just so dumb because it's like that's not, it's just there's so many people in the world is my point.
Yeah.
And it's
Exactly.
like there's not, it's gonna be so rare to find what you're looking for because you saw one girl from like New Zealand on TikTok and now you're expecting girls in like AC or in Napa or in California to look that way, because it's like just I just you're expecting to see something
Yeah.
or in your life on based on what you see on TikTok, and it's kind of like you said, it's kind of like normalizing your flaws and just like working on yourself. And I feel like I felt like this when I was younger, where it's like, yeah, I would like have crushes on guys and I would like look at what their type is kind of, and then I would be like, oh, how come I don't look like that? It's because their type are literally like Instagram models. So it's like,
Yeah.
what am I even talking about? But I feel like there's guys out there for there's people out there for everyone.
Yeah.
So I feel like, it's
Yeah. Everybody has a different body.
yeah,
That's so meaningful.
exactly. Because I've struggled with my own body image a lot, and it's kind of like I tried to fit into this stereotype or this standard that I thought was like ideal for me and also for like other people, and it's like, this actually comes up with a lot of like outfits that I want to wear, where it's like I really want to like look like this girl that I saw on Pinterest or like this girl I saw on TikTok because her outfit's so cute, but it's like crap, she's skinny, and then it's like whatever. I guess.
Yeah.
Ouch.
You-
Yeah.
Do you resonate with that? Is that why?
A little too much. More than I'd like. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like does the outfit look good because it's a good outfit, or is it just because she's skinny? So it's kind of like it's just this unfair kind of like stereotype that I was trying to fit when I was a kid, and now it's kind of like not when I was a kid, but when I was younger, and so now it's like I would definitely say that I like healed from that because quarantine was rough for me, but I feel like that was a while ago now, and I feel like I kind of healed from that, and now I don't really pay attention. But it's also like, you find people in your life that appreciate you for who you are, and they're not expecting you to be like the girls on TikTok or like the girls on Instagram or whatever. So I feel like there's definitely a lot of love out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that I would like to add, sort of with how you guys talked about sort of the pandemic really being this sort of catalyst for all the thinking around body positivity and sort of the changes in sort of your self-image and like how you how you sort of interpret all the different standards around you and sort of apply them to your own lifestyle. One thing that I would kind of like to add on to that is sort of like how maybe in the pandemic a lot of us might have found sort of our bodies changing in sort of like a, not like in a like growing up way, but like in a, you know, as a result of stress and just a sudden change in life thing, because I feel like that's something that not a lot of people want to talk about, and
Yeah.
yet it's something that's so overwhelmingly common.
yeah, I
Like-
feel like quarantine for me was just like a big shift in everything.
Like especially with people in our age group, we were going through the middle of puberty. It's
that
like
too. That too. So I feel like it was just like this big change. Like my interest changed. I started hyperfixating on a bunch of stuff, and then I cut my hair, and then it's like I changing my style, and it's like I think it's because you spend so much time by yourself that you like kind of resonate with yourself and you reflect, and then you're like, oh, I want to change things about myself. So it's like this big shift, and I'm trying to like heal from that. trying to trying to like grow my hair out, and it's like it was just this whole thing. I feel like just because you're by yourself for a while, it kind of like forces you to like look at yourself, I guess. So that's why there was a bunch of changes.
It's worse because I have a mirror in front of me when I wake up. Like I have a vanity Antica mirror when I wake up. I just see like myself.
you're like, oh,
And yeah, and especially since it's a quarantine, I was like cooped up in my room, and that was like literally all I'd see. And I would just, I don't know, it was like so random. I'll just keep thinking about like this one model I would see on like Instagram. I'd be like, oh, she's Filipino, but you know, like what Filipino is she? Like I don't look like because I'm also Filipino, but I'll see like Filipino models or like even just like Filipino girls my age at that time. I'd be like, why are they so much prettier than me? Like, you know, I think quarantine gave me so much time to like, it gave me more time to look at myself. But I think it's important to know that like, as I was saying earlier, you really can't compare yourself to those people.
No.
At the time, I said it rooted from like when I was looking at my crushes following at the time, and you have to understand like these were like middle school boys we were talking about. They had like high standards, and they had like no reason to be having high standards. If
Too
you look
high,
yeah,
one might say.
too hot.
yeah. If you look at them, now, it was like they had no reason, right? But it's like you still, you know, you were still affected by it. Especially me, it was where a lot of it started. Because again, I didn't notice those things about myself. I really didn't care. You know.
Yeah.
After that, it was just like I kind of noticed every little thing.
I feel like you see that a lot now, where it's like TikTok making up a new insecurity every like
Oh my god.
2 weeks, where it's like the mewing thing, where it's like, why are we worrying about that? Or it'll be like
Sorry, the what?
mewing.
Like when you make your jawline more sharp, you like
Oh, that thing, like
no,
the,
and then,
like
putting your tongue up
yeah.
and like pressing
like
it
hold
up
on,
against your
like
Okay, you're gonna have to try it. But yeah, it's like the mewing thing, where it's like to get rid of this thing, you just like suck your tongue into the roof of your mouth. So it's like this whole like phenomenon right now.
Yeah.
But it's like the mewing thing, like
it's like
how to get rid of oh my god, there was some other thing, but it'll be like dumb TikToks where it'll be like how to get rid of this, or it's like guys I found a hack on how to like make your whatever sharper, and it's like
Yeah, or like it was like this one trend. It was like, do I have deer eyes or siren eyes?
oh my god.
I was like, what? What does that mean?
No, and then like just like expanding on what you guys are saying, like you're setting yourself up for failure by isolating yourself with all of social media's just standards. It's like guys, they're setting themselves up expecting so much of like girls or whoever they're attracted to. It's just
Right.
anybody's, we're setting like unfair standards for everyone around us, and it's just not even just for ourselves, but even for the people around us. It's affects everybody, and I don't understand the thing. This like I still don't get it.
I can't do it.
Like, hold on.
Like
Guys, I don't get it. Someone explain mewing, please. But it's like
No, I can't do it.
they just keep inventing stuff. Like oh my god, you so got me with the deer and siren eyes. I
Right.
forgot that was a trend. But it will be like, or like the slideshows where it would be like, what type of nose do you have? And then everyone in the comments is like, I wish I had a button nose. Like, guys, what are we talking about?
What's a button nose?
Like, what are we talking about? And it's so annoying because I'll keep seeing TikToks and I'll be like, this is so obviously like just creating new insecurities or whatever. Or like, it would just be some freak thing like the face. Like I keep getting, I just saw an ad the other day where it was like this like electric like massager for like facial lifts or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just so dumb to me how they like start inventing stuff and it'll be like trends and then they make it into a joke. Like the mewing thing now is a joke. They say it as a joke. They'll be like bros mewing. It's like a whole joke.
Yeah.
But it's like
Oh, where they're like, oh, I kind of understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're
bros
saying.
mewing, but it's like it's just so
Or like, what's that face? It was like they would suck in like their
the chat face.
Like the
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they would do the chat face, and that's like another thing because it's like, well, now it's a joke, but I feel like there's
But it's
some
like-
sort of
It's like if
thing
you-
internalized.
If you looked like that naturally, like what would you feel like going through that trend and being like, you're making fun of my face?
right, or like the bold glamour filter. Do you guys know which one?
Like
Oh, yeah.
vaguely. I have really bad memory for TikTok
Damien
trends
does not.
these days. I feel out of the loop. Like, you guys are talking about so many like trends,
you're
and I
benefiting a little from not knowing something.
and I only know like half of them. If we're being generous, half of them. Like
being
I knew.
So you've known like one.
Okay, I knew the Chad face, but like everyone knows the Chad face. I think I knew about the freaking
The mewing.
the mewing thing.
Dude, talking to Damien is like talking to like a 50-year-old dad.
I know, because from your perspective, I noticed there is a gap in like how we perceive body issues, whereas like where like men perceive body issues, because men still do go through it, but I guess not to the extent that women do. Because I noticed like you don't go through like all of those like trends that you see, which is like really good for you because you know you don't have to I guess feel insecure about like every little feature about yourself. I'm not saying that guys don't go through this, but I'm saying maybe there is more girls that do. Again, it's like good that you don't have trends like this on your For You page. That's very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of us like girls go through their For You page and you see like a bunch of these like trends where it's like just focusing on like feminine features or like just girls and you're like, you know, and then it's also like the idea of body image and like the standard that you're supposed to reach is starting from like such a young age
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I've never like I feel like I've always been worried about it, if that makes sense.
And going back to like how it affects boys and men, it's just I feel like it's a really deeply rooted thing that it's not okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not okay for you to share your own feelings about yourself. And I would love to hear more from your.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for you.
I mean, with my upbringing, it wasn't ever something that was ingrained in me by my parents. Like, I know my mom was and has always been very open about, you know, me expressing my emotions and sharing sort of my struggles.
Yeah.
My dad to a more passive extent. Also, I think because that's just kind of how society
Yeah,
sort of
that's
expects dads to
exactly
be.
Kind
But
of
I
exactly
think
what I was trying to point out.
I think that really just like goes to show you that it's just no matter what your upbringing is, the societal pressure will have an effect on how you
Yeah.
respond to your own emotions and how you deal with them and how you share them with those around you.
Right.
Like of the few boys that I've really gotten close with, it's taken them a long time to really open up to me or even open up to their own friends about their own problems with their body image or any standards that their own family has set for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like not pointing you out directly, but really anybody could have those problems, but just the standards that society sets for guys sometimes really affects how us women or even anyone else assumes what they're going through. Like, I don't want to assume that any men don't go through the same things that we do. They just might not be as open to it, sharing about it.
Yeah. And again, I think it really just goes back to the different societal expectations of body image between the two stereotyped genders.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so important that we normalize having conversations with this, with like among our peers, among other students, because it shows other people that they're not alone in their issues. I kind of thought that I was always alone, so I never thought to tell anyone about it. But I think it's so crucial to have these conversations, because this will just further normalize people to open up and, you know, have other people be like, you know, you're not alone in this. Other people go through this. And this is a very real thing. It still happens. It wasn't just something that happened during quarantine. A lot of people still go through this. And that's why you are definitely encouraged to, you should tell, you know, at least your close friends, your sister, brother, your sibling. Because the first time I opened up to my sister, it made me feel so much better. And she's like my built-in best friend. So, yeah. Yeah, shout out. It just like makes me feel, it made me feel so much more free, because I noticed that she was also going through those struggles, and I was like, I never knew.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Before we move on, I want to put one point out, but you're right on that, because I feel like when I was 13 and I was doing the whole Chloe Ting thing, I thought that was just me. And then
PTSD for me now.
and then I got on TikTok and everybody was like me doing the Chloe Ting workouts and during quarantine, and I was like, you guys did that too? I was like, oh my god, like I've never had an original experience, but it's like it's nice to know that like other girls did the same YouTuber, and it's like crazy to me. I'm like, so we all have this shared trauma with Chloe Ting, 'cause I thought I was the only one who used her workouts, and then I grow up and then I see that all these other girls are talking about how they were watching Chloe Ting doing the exact same thing I was, and I was like, damn. So I feel like it's easy. I feel like it's easier for like girls to talk about it. I think in a way, just because we're like, I feel like it's more expected of men to like not talk about it, you know, because it's like you have to be strong and manly and not say anything. But
Yeah, but you don't.
you guys can talk about it.
It like goes to show how social media can be taken in different ways from different people, like how that trend just like, I've never had an original thought, but it's also like you kind of find a community in that, but also you can also find a negative community in that. Wait, we were doing something that hurted.
Because
that hurt us.
one person brings up the fact that they watched Chloe Ting in quarantine. Now everybody's like, oh my god, so did I. Now
and this big
everybody
conversation
knows.
just opens up
Yes,
for so
where
many people.
everybody knows that they weren't alone with the Chloe Ting thing. So I think we should talk about it more, because
Yeah.
I feel like we've all been through the same experiences.
Yeah.
So
And again, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for sharing your deepest, darkest, most vulnerable thoughts.
Yes, thank you.
we're great.
It felt nice.
Okay, so we're going to transition into our next segment, where we bring in an expert to talk about all these issues and sort of see what she has to say, what she can recommend, and sort of just general help for you guys watching at home or listening if you're on one of our audio only sources.
Yep.
And
Driving,
Yeah.
listening to Body Image.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Bye, guys.
All right. So we're going to welcome our guest for this next segment, our official therapist. Not official of the Shinecast, but official from Mentis, a local mental health nonprofit here in Napa. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would, and thank you for the introduction. My name is Maya, and I'm a school-based mental health therapist at Napa Unified School District.
All right. Can you tell us about sort of what your experience has been becoming a therapist? Just like brief 30-second elevator pitch.
Wonderful, I'd love to. So, I started my journey as a bachelor's of social work student. I've been pursuing social work for my master's as well. And I chose those because I was interested in servicing communities, providing resources to families, and particularly youth and adolescents. Throughout my journey, I decided that working with individual and group settings was most exciting for me. I enjoyed working with youth and seeing them learn skills to help themselves and skills to improve their relationships. And that's something that stuck with me. So as of right now, I work at 2 wellness centers and I provide individual and group therapy to about 25 students a week.
Wow,
That's
that's
really
impressive. Yeah.
Thanks,
Um,
guys.
So yeah, body image. What's
What's
the
the
deal?
haves?
Yeah. What's or well, at least from a therapist's perspective, such as yours, what do you have to say?
Yes, it's a very important topic for teens to address. Right now, body image, I would say we're in a body image crisis, which isn't new, but it is very prevalent in this time where many people are viewing themselves and their self perception. It's being altered and affected by outside sources such as social media or even social interactions, comments, and ideas and perceptions. So, I did want to talk about body image briefly, the 3 aspects that kind of shape that. The first aspect would be affective. So, this is the way that you feel about your body and the way that you may be satisfied or dissatisfied with certain aspects of your physical body. The second aspect would be cognitive. So, this is how you think about your body. These are the thought processes that you have, the thinking patterns, and the narratives that you have about your body. The third aspect is behavioral. These are the things that you do as a result of the thoughts that you have and the ways that you behave and navigate related to your body image. So those 3 aspects can be fluctuating often in day-to-day living. They can be impacted by just seeing a person or seeing a post or an ad or an alert, and having a secure sense of self-esteem and a secure sense of understanding who you are and practicing that self-love to understand yourself and accept yourself as you are can combat that. But it is something that is very challenging for teens, even what I've seen at the high school.
So would you say that what you see most in teenagers today in regards of their body image and their mental health and what they think in regards of how they look, do you think, like, what do you see most since you work with youth? Do you think it's like mostly positive or mostly negative, or what do you see in us, I guess?
And if it's negative, like how, in like what ways, like what specific aspects of a person's self perspective do you see to be most prevalent?
Great questions. So to answer the first question, was it how do I recognize the different symptoms?
Yeah,
or
do you see most of it being positive or negative?
Yeah.
So with high school and middle school students, I do want you guys to consider that this is a very emotionally vulnerable age. A lot of changes are happening at that time. So it is common for most people to have some sort of insecurities, negative body image perceptions, but I would say it is quite common. It is less common to see students that have a grounded, secure sense of self, and oftentimes it's those who put in the work to achieve that have that.
Interesting.
So basically what you're saying is that the people who have that more grounded, more realistic, more healthy even perception of themselves are only at that point because they've had a lot of work put in to get themselves to that point. Sort of, is that
I would
sort of
say
what you're
somewhat,
saying?
yes. I would say because they put in the effort to be intentional. It's kind of a process that rewards itself over time, building self-confidence. However, self-confidence isn't something that comes out of nowhere. It
No.
takes practice.
Yeah.
So speaking of that process to get to that healthy point with yourself, I know a lot of teenagers, and especially me, you kind of struggle with food or like just your general body image itself. And I know that when, like, to the teenagers that do struggle with that and who have to go through body dysmorphia and just kind of having like this internal battle and like they're like their own enemy type,
Right.
they know that they have to know that recovery is possible.
Yes.
I struggled with it when I was younger, and I've thankfully recovered, and I'm like still working on myself to get to that point of self-confidence that you're talking about. But do you think how do you think that teenagers can take those kind of first steps toward recovery or getting to that point? Because I know a lot of teenagers are kind of aware of what they're doing and they do want to get to that point of self-confidence, but I guess they don't really know where to start. Because I know me personally, I was pretty lost in that sense. So do those steps have anything to do with like social media or deleting certain things?
That's a great question. There are many things that can be helpful in improving our self-esteem and improving our view of ourselves, our bodies. And I also appreciate you sharing a bit about your journey.
Yeah.
It takes courage. So I can list some things that can be helpful. For starters, as a therapist, I would suggest seeking individual or group therapeutic services, being able to talk with a qualified professional that can get to know you and understand the specific aspects of yourself, can allow them to create a treatment plan and find interventions that are most supportive for your specific needs. However, there are many things that you can do on your own. As you mentioned with social media, having a social media detox can be very helpful in improving your sense of self-esteem.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Damn.
And not many people want to hear it. And it's quite normal. You know, many people talk about, like, I think about it. I might, take time away from social media. But consuming as much as you're consuming on social media through images and videos and clips of what buyers want you to see and attain and try to strive for, it will continue to make you feel bad about yourself and continue to make you feel like you need to buy these things or fit this certain image in order to be ideal or perfect when no one fits that.
Mm-hmm.
Other factors that can be helpful include less screen time, trying to reduce mindless scrolling.
Ooh. Ouch.
Yeah.
Coming out with all the stops, all
This is
the
like
yeah.
half my day.
I feel called out.
I think everyone does.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're not alone. Many people engage in it, but it's helpful to just even take time to kind of realize, like, oh, I'm doing that. Let me try to find something else to do, like a self-care habit. Try to find an interest or a hobby, those things that can really help you make you, and those things that can actually boost your confidence by developing skills or doing things that you guys are good at, like this, can be very beneficial as opposed to feeding into what social media wants you to believe.
Okay, awesome. So is there anything you think in social, because I bring up social media a lot, like not even with this segment, like just in general, but I bring up social media a lot because I feel like that's such a big part of like a teenager's life, I think, because it's what you do. You're a teenager. You're going to be on your phone. So
And not
it's-
even just like teenagers' lives, but like all at this point, all of our lives. Because we just live in such a digitally integrated world. I mean, like proof of that is just you guys listening to this podcast. You
right?
are.
I have a mic in front of me and cameras. Like,
Yeah, you are engaging in this sort of digital universe that we've established as a society, and that's just kind of the way things are now. And
yeah.
like,
So I feel like a lot of body image issues come from a while, like even before phones, like it was like magazines and
Yes.
billboards and all that. So it's
MTV.
MTV, like stuff like that. Like it's been an issue for a while, but it's just kind of more reoccurring now because it's so much easier to, like you said, for buyers to push out like a bunch of insecurities that they're making up to be like, oh, your face is drooping, so get this like facelift or whatever,
Right.
or hyperpigmentation. It's like get this cream, or it's just making up new things to be insecure about, or creating new insecurities to kind of like sell whatever they're trying to sell. So I feel like it's so easy now with social media because of how like accessible everything is. So it's more of like a reoccurring problem that I guess we kind of got to tackle on your own. But what do you kind of want to see more or less of in social media, I guess? Like what would you think is like a healthy way to use social media?
I like that question a lot. So, this is something that I've debated for a while, how to navigate social media use through a mental health lens and perspective. So, social media is a tool. It's not inherently a bad thing. However, it does have a dark side, and we know what that side looks like.
Oh yeah, a little too well.
But with that being said, social media can be used in a helpful way to improve your mental health, to improve your sense of self-esteem, and to even find things that you can do off of your phone. For example,
It's okay.
sorry, there's so many
I
things
get
to choose from.
Well, I need to know what I got to do on social media,
No,
I think we all do.
right? Like, because that's another thing I was wondering. I was like, is there a way to have like, because there's a lot of impact. Like, social media has like this really big impact, but it's like, we keep talking about how like the negative impacts of it, but also I feel like there has to be some kind of like positive way it can be used.
and there are.
Yeah, okay.
So, engaging in body neutral type of posts and content or body positive type of posts or content. Some people view the body positivity nature as very saturated in being overly positive. And there are times where it's okay to accept ourselves as we are and to be happy with that. Also, using social media in a way to connect with other communities that are celebrating body positivity or body neutrality. But straying away from those content creators that create unrealistic standards, unfollowing people who use social media in a way to either make you feel bad about yourself or contribute to your low self-esteem symptoms.
Yeah. And just for our listeners and viewers at home who are unfamiliar with like the movements of body positivity and body neutrality, what are they? And like why are they two different sort of ideas or philosophies, and like what's up with that? Yeah.
Yes. So the body positive movement that's been pretty popular, I would say, within the past about 3 to 5 years. These are things that have been promoted by, say, Lizzo, as far as accepting yourself as you are and being happy about it and celebrating yourself. These are things that include not editing photos or not using filters and engaging in social media in an authentic manner. Being body neutral, similar path as body positive, but it's about being factual. I love my body because it keeps me alive. I love my body because I woke up today. I love my body because it does a lot. All of these cells in my body are dedicated to me and keep me alive and keep me well. And so acknowledging yourself in a factual way rather than feeding into negative beliefs or unhelpful beliefs is what the movement is about.
All right. Thank you.
That's actually really interesting.
yeah, and a very sort of just like easy to digest way of approaching it. Yeah. Thanks.
So I also know that I've also seen that big companies like Fenty Beauty or Skims, I think too,
Yeah.
or like Victoria's Secret, like with the whole Victoria's Angels kind of thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, Victoria's Angels was like a big thing in like the 2000s where it would just be like this unattainable
Right.
type standard. And yeah, it would be cool to watch. I'm not gonna lie, it is cool to watch the Angels from like the 2000s. But that was just the thing. They had like this unachievable like beauty standard. So it's also like something that had a negative impact on a lot of teenagers, I think, at the time.
Yes, it did.
And so I know that Victoria's Secret now is having more like inclusivity in their walks and in their runways. Do you think seeing more of that could help like this new like era of teenagers?
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I do think having representation of all types of bodies is a way to improve the overall body perception that people have of themselves. Being able to look on TV or look at a runway show and be able to see people that resemble them, people that have imperfections and are perfectly imperfect, can be very inspiring to the viewer, as opposed to having people presented that do not fit average day-to-day expectations and presentations, I think it can be very supportive to be able to feel seen.
Yeah. Well, nice. There was one question that I did have that I think we sort of touched upon with Maya and Yesha, or one topic, which was, and I know that you, before we recorded the episode, you kind of talked about the relation between a lot of young people and food and how that can kind of sort of cause difficult things. And one way I want to sort of expand upon that is with the pandemic, I know, like I mentioned before, it was a stressful time for a lot of people, and I know as coping mechanisms, a lot of people might find comfort in food and like their favorite dishes. So how do you think that sort of played into this sort of status quo we're living in a post-pandemic era, you know, where we've essentially just gone through this collective trauma in a way, and like
We did.
like with people having to find their own ways to cope, what do you think came of all that? And especially, like I said, with people who maybe find comfort in food, and like as a result of that, they're, you know, they might have found their bodies changed, you know, throughout the duration of the pandemic and all the stressful events associated with it.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful question. And yes, the pandemic was an extreme event that impacted the world, but it was also a traumatic event that we experienced. So yes, there is a correlation between our body image and how people coped with what we were experiencing and the pandemic at that time. In addition to those who might have consumed more and ate comfort foods since we were locked in quarantines for long periods of time, there were also individuals who ate less because their routine was disrupted, sleep was disrupted. A lot of different aspects of our lives kind of changed in that moment. And so when it comes to how we feel about ourselves, for those who do their regular maintenance routine, it might have been impacted by the pandemic. The things that might have been normal to them weren't normal anymore. And there were many people who changed a lot over that time frame. I would say I changed a lot from before to after.
I would definitely.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it did have a negative impact on people's self-perception and their mental health.
Because I feel like a lot of my issues did start around the pandemic, because it was just such a weird time, because like you said, yeah, your routine was disrupted. I mean, at the time we were so used to like going up and going to school and like eating in the morning or eating during lunch, and then coming home and eating and then doing whatever and then eating dinner. Like you're already so established into this routine. So when that routine is interrupted for like a year, your days kind of start like blurring together, which was my issue. Like my days were blurring together, and it's like school wasn't really like a thing for me anymore. It wasn't really like a routine. It was like Zoom classes, so it was whatever. So you just kind of, with that routine being disrupted, there's a lot of things about you that change. And so for me, it was a really hard change to go through, because that's where like a bunch of my issues also started popping up. And we mentioned this with Maya and Yesha, where it was like, because we were in a pandemic, everyone was kind of focusing on themselves, and because there was nothing to do but be on social media because you couldn't go out anymore, it like started creating a bunch of more issues and like more just like this big like explosion on social media, where a lot of people just kind of started looking at themselves a little more. So I think it was weird. Can you ask, I don't remember how you phrased the question, but can you ask her that question about how gender roles?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I want to know what she thinks, but I don't know how you phrased it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a juicy question right there.
Let's do it.
So earlier in the podcast, we, as you all at home remember, discussed sort of how like the various perceptions of body image sort of are very heavily affected by our society's perception of gender roles and sort of the two main gender stereotypes that historically have existed throughout society's history, I guess. At least our current, perception of industrial Western society.
Yeah.
To say that's applicable to all regions and all eras of history is
Yeah.
wildly incorrect. But with our current era and sort of cultural philosophy, how does gender and how do gender roles play into those sort of expectations of body image and sort of the reactions to those expectations is, I guess, what
Like,
we're
I
trying
guess
to
the
ask.
difference, basically.
So there are similarities and differences, I would say, between, as you said, like the stereotype gender roles, we'll say like between masculine and feminine. Between those two, there are similarities such as, let's see, comparison, body checking, eating routine monitoring or dysregulation. The list could really go on. The behaviors that feminine individuals might display might be seeking thinness. That's something that's been an on and off trend for as far as I can remember. And then we also have the plastic surgery era with facial surgeries, body surgeries. And these are very intensive.
Yeah.
And so that's on the feminine side. However, on the masculine side, it might not be as in your face as you see on TV. You might see diet ads for women on TV, whereas for masculine individuals, there might be more emphasis on having to be muscular, having to be a certain height, not being too much of either weight, whether it's too thin or too large. Facial features. I did hear you guys talking about some of the trends that are online now, and it's concerning, but it's also not new. People hyperfixating on minor features and maybe features that you can't naturally change, and trying to naturally change them. They impact both genders significantly. Typically, from what I've seen in my professional experience, it is less common that males seek therapeutic support. It happens, but it's rare. And so when it comes to hearing from the male perspective, the masculine perspective of their experience with body perception and how they view themselves, how they feel about themselves, there's a small voice coming from that side. And so we would like to amplify your voice, because I also would like to hear your perspective of what you've experienced and what you've seen, maybe among peers. But I do believe that both genders, and both masculine and feminine and non-binaries, are affected by society's pressures to fit into a box or to be the perfect somebody.
Yeah. Because, we mentioned it earlier, how we felt like women, or I guess the feminine side of things, that it has been like a standard for a long time, where it was like women would have to present themselves in a way, and then it was like this, like everybody was more focused on like the feminine side, and obviously the masculine side also had their stereotypes, and masculines have also had their share of body issues. But I feel like now, with the whole like women empowerment movement, it's being talked about more amongst the feminine side. But I also feel like the masculine side should be brought in a little more to kind of give us an idea of more of what can be changed and what can be different, or what's going on. Because I for one, I don't know what's going on for like this whole body image thing. I mean, I know what I felt, and I know that a lot of girls around me have felt the same, so I understand that side. But it's also like I don't understand the masculine side because I don't hear anyone talking about it and I wouldn't know. So, do you think it'll be more easier to tackle if we do start that conversation, or kind of stir it, try and have more masculine people share their
Or even like, how should we start that conversation?
true.
Like, what,
truth?
where do we even begin? Because I know, like, for myself, yeah, body image has definitely been a thing that has been present throughout a lot of my life, and it's something that I've definitely had to come face to face with, and not always in the most positive way. And you're absolutely right that not a lot of, you know, masculine identifying people tend to seek out therapy. I've seen it, you know, with my peers around me, and a lot of it's just like the stigma that, oh yeah, if you go to therapy, you're weak, you have something wrong with you. When no,
And that's not true at all.
just no, that's not always the problem. And I am somewhat hypocritical of myself. I personally have not necessarily been against the idea of going to therapy, but I certainly haven't had the willingness to sort of tackle that for myself personally, I have found.
And does that have anything to do with your gender role, I guess?
Maybe not so much my internal reflection of like my gender identity, but the sort of external perception of it, like what people around me think, sort of a thing, I guess. Like,
Interesting.
it's something that I think, honestly, every person should try and explore on their own for at least at some point in their life, because therapy is a very beneficial and healthy thing to go to.
I also have a helpful approach that can kind of make it a little easier, because it is a helpful thing, but it can be a scary thing.
Yeah.
I know, trust me. But yes, there's individual therapy, which can be helpful for one-on-one, but there's also group therapy. And so Mentis, my organization, offers both. And so there are group therapy groups that can be, generally they would be focused on like self-esteem, self-worth. And they would take time, maybe they would have about 4 to 6 people and a facilitator, and they would take time to discuss topics, to provide education on certain terms and understanding what experiences people are having. Sharing experiences and being able to hear other perspectives can come out of group. And it's a safe, confidential space where people can be vulnerable and know that their information isn't going to enter into their social life dynamics. So group therapy can also be an approach to tackling something like this if someone's looking for support or looking to feel heard or looking to learn information.
You hear that, David? I was kidding.
Wow. I thought we were supposed to be supportive and
We
and
are.
open.
This is a safe
Safe
space.
space. It doesn't feel safe from you. Sorry. I'm kidding.
No, I'm just kidding. But
But yeah, I think that's really helpful, not just for us here at the
like for
podcast,
anyone.
but like anyone again who's listening to this. If you're not in Napa and you're listening to this, then I'd say just reach out to your local, either if you have a mental health nonprofit in your community, definitely reach out, or if not, just like reach out at your healthcare provider.
Yes.
Often they'll have a lot of options to sort of point you in the right direction for mental health services.
all right.
Yeah.
So before we're done, do you have any other points that you kind of want to get out, or any other, what's the word, like concluding statements?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes, I would say my concluding statement is, although it may be challenging to understand yourself as you grow and change over time and you relearn yourself over and over again, I encourage you all to give yourself some grace. You're doing great. And to seek support if you feel like you're unable to handle it on your own.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Thank you.
Hit me in the
That's-
heart.
yeah.
That was cute.
That, yeah, that's a little nice place to
Touchy-feely.
leave off.
That was
Yeah.
cute.
And again, thank you for coming in and doing this podcast.
Thank you, guys.
We're really appreciative of your support and your sort of willingness to share all this information with whomever might need it.
Yes, I'm happy to share, especially with the teens of this community as you guys are growing up. You guys are the next gen, you know? So I'm so glad to be a part of this discussion, and I'm very happy to hear the electrifying perspectives that you guys have. I mean, you guys have wonderful insight, and I have
you.
faith in the future.
We have wonderful insight, Damien.
Oh wow! Well, she complimented us.
Right?
Wow, I feel honored.
Right.
I feel honored.
But
But yeah,
All right.
thanks. And that about concludes our episode, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate all of our guests today. No more episode till next month, which will be March. And that
is this
will
coming
be
out in February?
yeah.
Oh. It's December, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Brianna's a little bit off schedule today.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure to tune in next month for our next episode, which will not be hosted by us, but will be hosted by
We'll be there, maybe.
yeah.
We don't
yeah,
know what we're recording yet, but
yeah, well, don't say that. They
we
don't
know
have
what
to
we're
know.
recording next.
Oh.
And we'll be there or
Uh-huh.
not.
Yeah. Next month's host will be, I think, Maya and Yesha.
I love them.
Yeah, they were great today.
They were.
So yeah, I look forward to seeing an episode from them on what was the topic?
Something. Follow us on TikTok.
It's self-care.
Look forward to seeing their episode on self-care coming out next month. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and see y'all next month.
Follow us on.
Thank you, Trey.
That was so loud.
Great sound effects. That definitely didn't blow out my eardrums. Oh, before we forget,
Follow us on Shine Podcast on TikTok.
yes, we have a TikTok. We have had a TikTok. Find the link in our description.
Shine Podcast.
Either on YouTube or in the show description in Apple Podcasts
At
or
Shine Podcast.
wherever else you get your podcasts. And yeah, thank you all for listening.